What? I was going to talk about what?
Your some kind of virtual situation.
A virtual situation.
You going to share about that? Mm-hmm.
Well, look at us switching sides today.
I know. I feel like it's going to feel a little off to people. They're going to be like, wait, what?
With that same old profile, same old hat. One of these days, what are you looking at? One of these days, I'm actually going to wash the hair, let everybody see the new do.
Wash the hat. Maybe wash the hat.
Wash this hat.
Remember you had an invention? This week you were telling me about this, but maybe you don't want to tell everybody because then they'll steal it.
It's going to get out. And they're going to steal it.
All right. Just know
so as we start
there's an invention.
Today, we are getting some positive feedback on the 30 minutes. Actually, we got zero feedback on that. But
I did love the 30 minutes, so we're going to try to keep it.
We are. So if you set your watch, man, 3:15.
Well, I don't have a watch, but
I got it. So a couple things. One is we are going to be discussing a recent fight that you and I had.
Ooh.
A little later in this episode.
The one that was all your fault, or
the one that I think you took it to the Lord and prayed, and He convicted your spirit.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about how we work through that and some things that were happening that caused the miscommunication, the different beliefs that we had, and how it caused us to show up in certain ways and how we work through that. But before we get to that, things have been amazing. We are so grateful for all of our listeners, all of our donors, all the people who support us. Recently, you did a little deal and told people to share on Facebook.
Yeah.
And we went from 480 followers to what, 1,000?
Now it's like 1,051.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm never on Facebook.
Not to nickel and dime, but that was crazy. So
That's good.
So my friend Cheyenne shared that. Shout out, hey to Cheyenne, to just share on Facebook and say, hey, if you would do us a favor, it will cost you $0 in 1 minute to go to Long Haul Marriage, go to the 3 little dots and say, share to all your friends or whatever, invite all, whatever it's called. Anyway, so we grew by double.
Yeah. And with the long haul theme, you guys have seen our new logo with the car and all that. And so we've themed our packages around the car motif, the hitting the road for the premarital. We've got the tune-ups for the one-on-ones, and we've got the overhaul when you need a complete overhaul, and we are adding an intensive.
I'm so excited.
Become certified in the EXO marriage mediator certification. And we went through that, the practicum hours, the pre-work, all the stuff, and then we did the 3-day training. Man, it was amazing.
Great
we are
training.
So thankful that we can add this now to our tool belt.
It's going to help so many people.
It's going to help a lot.
It would have helped us massively.
So
save.
We're not going to go into it today, but we're going to talk about kind of what it is and what it offers. So one of the things that we are going to do, and I'll just tell you this. So if you go to our website, longhaulmarriage.org, you will see that the services we offer have these names that I just went over. And on our Calendly scheduling app, our landing page, you'll see those. But we're actually going to be adjusting them and renaming them because we've added the intensive. We think we're going to call that the overhaul. And so the premarital will stay hitting the road. And then the tune-up will be the tune-up. And I think the longer stuff that is now an overhaul when you schedule 3 weeks, just prepay for the 3 sessions. I think we're going to call that the in the shop.
I love it. I thought that was a great idea.
Okay, good. So we're going to do that, but be looking for the addition of the overhaul, and we're already offering it. So one couple's already scheduled that, and instead of just check this out. Instead of coming in and trying to start and you're in the ditch and obviously you want the overhaul because you're in trouble. So many people come in and they're in major crisis. And at the end, that first hour flies by. You're just trying to tell, how we roll. We want the backstory. We want previous relationship baggage before you got into this relationship. We want family of origin stuff. We want all the root stuff, right? That causes most of the problems. And then you have this acute issue that's going on in your marriage. And the hours just fly by. And some people think, oh my gosh, and we just got to go. And then they make it worse in the 2 weeks before they come back, or the week before they come back. And you end up scheduling 8 to 10 deals, and you feel like you're starting over sometimes, or you're just not gaining ground. You're not making any progress.
Just not any how do you say that word? Continuity.
Or, yeah. So the intensive means we will come to you, or you come to us, and we will sit down for 8 hours, one entire day. And we have the protocol. We have the format. We have the goods. This mediation certification training was so freaking amazing. So we're excited to just help and to do it all at once. And it does cost quite a bit more, but I would ask, it's people say, well, when would we have that time? Dude, trying to mesh your schedule with your husband's, and this is like you block out one day and it's done. And we're not saying that one day is going to solve everything, but you're going to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You will learn to think differently.
Yes.
And you're going to be acting and behaving and thinking and feeling and believing differently, so that you can solve your own problems. It's not you're not going to need the mediator. You're not going to need a counselor. You're not going to need the guru. You will have the tools to resolve conflict and do better communication in your marriage. So there, huge success rate, great testimonies with this. We've already seen, as we put these practices in our own marriage, we've seen the benefits from this. So we're excited to share it with you. The other thing about the cost, it's like the opportunity cost deal if you don't do it. People say, well, we want to do a vacation, or we want to do a ski trip, or we wouldn't pay that. Dude, you can't afford not to do this. And what good is your stupid vacation if you go on it and you hate each other? Or you do your little distraction because you've gone on your trip, and then you come back and
it's the same.
There you are. Anyway, and again, I just think for knocking out the time and to be able to stay in there, and like you said, it's the continuity. You gain the traction and you're making the momentum, and you don't have to stop and then try to start again.
And going on the car analogy, this is the way I picture it. Like your car's going this direction, and the tools that you will learn during that intensive, it changes your car to go a totally different direction. And you will have the tools where you're like, we don't really need Brian and Jamie. I mean, maybe a tune-up here and there, but, you leave with the tools and you feel like you've spent enough time actually practically going through, 2 or 3 or 4 of your issues that your car's going a whole different direction in the direction you want it to go,
And yes, that's great. Good one. And
Thanks.
we don't talk a lot about the nuts and bolts. We always say, and the people who know us and have referred people to us, or have come and done the ministry with us and gotten help. We obviously, we're not licensed therapists. If we were, we wouldn't be practicing therapy anyway. So I don't talk about our certifications a lot, but I'll say this, man, the Prepare and Enrich, the premarital certification we have through Life Innovations, the mental health coach certification through the AACC that we both have, and now this EXO marriage mediator certification. We appreciate it so much. I mean, this one just gives so much like resource and like specificity to some of the stuff that we were doing, the unconscious competent that we were doing, but being able to do it all at once.
Yes.
And just a new method. But I do want to say this. And no slam at all to anyone out there doing anything else or using any other tools. I just want to see that the reason why we don't talk a lot, or I don't talk about the certifications, is because, man, after seeing 3,500 couples, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything, for any amount of book learning or any kind of protocols. What I have been taught by these couples by sitting and listening and being part of their journey, literally to the tune of 17,000 hours. It has been the best education we have learned and grown from that. That's just literally changed our marriage.
And if we back it up even more from the beginning of our marriage, every struggle, every heartache, every loss, everything that we have done the wrong way and done the right way. Different things that we've learned along the way in our own marriage. I believe that just has forged us in our path forward. It's not like we just read about all this stuff. Like we've lived so much of it, at such a deep level that I think I'm blown away all the time how I just think the very things that you have struggled with the most, God can use it in the greatest way. So if it's, marriage, button heads and fighting and, just really like struggling, like, are we going to make it, to, losing Corbin and all the other losses that we've gotten to experience together, like the deep grief, the dark nights of the soul, the, depression, anxiety, whatever, when you feel that at such a deep level, you take that experience into those 3,500 couples, and it's just like this incredible, it's just the most meaningful, fulfilling kind of life. Yeah. To use the very thing that was going to bury you to resurrect in that and
I was talking recently on a mastermind call for the Rise Up Kings community, and I was sharing with over 60 guys on a Zoom call, their revival, which is their pastors, about. I said, man, I don't have to see a walking on a water or a parting of the Red Sea. God literally did a miracle in our marriage, and because of that, again, and I said, if you would have told me 35 years ago, I would be sharing anything with anybody about how to do marriage better, I would have said, you're crazy, man. There's no way. But again, it's an honor and it's a privilege. So our heart is just so connected to the couples we're working with. What I think I mentioned this last time, people can't see this. Obviously, we never show this, but I'm looking at our board and the overhaul. Yeah, we needed a bigger whiteboard. So we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 couples in the overhaul package right now, 3 in hitting the road, 2 more coming very quickly, and then a bunch of tune-ups. So because of that, we are adding the intensive, but also we are going to be doing an online virtual workshop. I guess the online and virtual, that was a little redundant, but we are going to offer a workshop, what it would have been a one-day in-person workshop all day. We're going to be offering that online very, very soon. Obviously, I'm already thinking about doing recording some of the classes that we want to offer for people that can just watch at your own pace and whenever you want and all that. I just think we're just trying to help, fit into what our culture's wanting right now. A lot of people who they can't get the sitter, or they can't travel, or they just don't have the time to try to figure out a one-day workshop. Maybe they don't they dread going around and introducing themselves, or have some social anxiety, as our son pointed out when we were talking about this. We want to just offer it for you so that you can sit in your living room with your spouse and hop on and go through these principles. Yes. And we just think the investment's going to really, really be helpful. Talk about the 22nd. So we're doing something, and I heard today that's sold out. Yeah. So it looks like that one is going to be sold out. They're looking at, could they open up more of their area and do it in this, really cool outdoor space. But if we don't end up doing that, because that's so sketchy, you don't know what the weather's going to be doing. So if we don't do that, then Love and Lattes on February 22nd at Justin Coffee Co. is officially sold out. We'll let you know if more seats open or whatever. But if not, then we are going to be in talks with them about doing more in the future. So good. I don't know if it would be one time a month. I don't know. So we'll talk with that. That was hot off the press. That was hot off the press. Good. So we will figure that out. But yeah, I'm very excited about Love and Lattes. Love and Lattes. I don't know if I love lattes more or love more. All right. So in about 16, 17 minutes, we're going to unpack this fight that we got into the other night. Well, say fight. I guess it was a fight. What could have been a really bad fight and could have taken us not just several hours, but maybe even several days to recover or to repair, which again, some people never address it again. They just go away and then never come back to it. So they don't resolve anything. So it's there and it's just compounding. Things are just stacking up on top of that. But I just found it so interesting as we truly ended up talking about this at a very sane level rather than just in the heat of the moment when you're so defensive and you're battling. What we were believing about, so we were telling ourselves a story, right? There's a narrative that you assign to events that are going on in your marriage. And then once you start to believe certain things, you start to feel certain things, you start to act out certain things. And most people, what's interesting is if you can take time to just stop, walk away for a minute, and start to put down in a really, like I keep going the word sane, but it's you're not, things aren't escalated. You're not there with your partner attacking or being defensive. You're in a thoughtful way, in a careful way, listening for God to actually help you understand what you were believing and putting that down, letting Him speak to you about that situation. But before you even do that, you kind of unplug and you come. After sitting down and writing down what it was you were believing about that thing, and then coming back and sharing that, what's interesting is how two people were seeing the same exact thing but believing a completely different story and what that did to hurt the marriage. And so why don't you tell a story from your perspective, and then we'll get into, just kind of describe the scenario, right? About I'm in here working, trying to get some financial statements and a podcast, done and all this stuff, and you were fixing dinner. Talk about that, and then we'll go back to what I was believing, what you were believing.
Okay. So yeah, this was in the throes of starting long haul, and those beginning days were pretty stressful. Learning so much new stuff at the same time and trying to figure out, just how to do it all. And so, and finding a balance. We were so out of balance, like working, it feels like more than 24 hours a day.
16 to 18 hours a day.
Not possible. So
16, 18 hours a day, literally.
Just a lot. And, when you're both in high stress, it can just come out towards each other, and so just learning how to deal with that. So the cool thing is, and then I'll talk about the fight. It's not, and I have had to learn this because I grew up with a mom and dad who loved each other so much and had me late in life. And so I didn't see a lot of fighting. So I was under the impression that when we got married, there's just no fighting. Like and so I don't like confrontation. I don't love raising voices. All that just makes me feel like kind of tense because I, did not really grow up with that. So what I have realized now, 35 years later, well, earlier than that, but that marriage is it's crazy to think you're not going to have tense moments. You're not going to have disagreements. You're not going to see everything the same way. You're going to take things out on your spouse. You're going to have fights or arguments or whatever, but it's learning how to fight fair and how to really, nip some things in the bud without letting them grow legs and run off. Right. So, okay, let's go back to the fight. So you were in here working, and I had stopped working and thought, okay, we have to eat. So I go in and we make dinner, and it was a new recipe, and it was, kind of a whole thing. Now I can't remember barely what it was. But I came in here and said, hey, dinner's ready. And you have this kind of OCD tendency where when you are locked in on something, you are locked in, and there is
what
it is such a gift. So you're a bulldog is what I say. It is. That's why you're such an incredible piano player, guitar player. You don't quit. You can be locked in at a very hyper focused level for a long time, and you're trying to figure something out. And so you're just in it to win it. So I was feeling this tension because already tension was a little bit high. Just you and I were kind of at each other, for just the stress level was high. So my kind of codependent nature is, I don't know. I told him it was time for dinner. He's not coming. So I'm managing everything around me. Okay. Is he going to be more upset if I go tell him again dinner's ready? Or is he going to be more upset if, Carson was home? So is he going to be more upset if we start without him? Is he going to feel more disrespected that I go in and bug him and tell him again? Or is he going to feel like, oh, great, y'all ate without me. Thanks.
That was what was going on in your mind.
So I started feeling this tenseness in me, just like, and then this frustration kind of like, he's going to come in and eat and it's going to be cold and it's going to be horrible, and, does he even appreciate that I've done all this? Right. Okay. So that was
that's a lot that was going on. Mm-hmm. And so I was sitting there and there was certain things that I was doing that, again, you didn't know what I was doing, but you just knew, man, this he's doing something and he's working, he's getting a lot done.
It needed to be done.
That. I know that. We had been very I guess benevolent towards the work ethic and how, man, you're getting a lot done and thank you for doing your stuff and I'm doing mine. But in that moment, I couldn't stop because of it's this thing that you could. Right. I could have.
But it would have put you. You would have had to start a lot of things over,
and I got to come back and to get back to where I was. It's like, man, I'm so close. As a matter of fact, Carson, so he yelled and said, "Hey, Dad, dinner's ready." I go, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And I get it. Sometimes 5 minutes is 30 minutes or whatever. I get that. Or 5 minutes never comes, and you're an hour late. But I literally said 5 minutes, and about 5 minutes later, so I'm still fine. And matter of fact, many, many times I say, go on without me. So on a scale of 1 to 10, in my mind, it's 10 being like the most important thing, like do not start without me. And 1 being, man, go start without me is like a -4. Like I literally go start. Don't let it get cold kind of thing. So I wasn't thinking anything about it. I just finished my thing, got to a spot, went in there, grabbed my plate, and started making it, and it was the feel, it was the vibe. It's like, whoa, why is she upset? Why am I getting the cold shoulder? What's going on? And then we started, and I asked, hey, what's up, right? And you told me that you had worked hard, and this was a new recipe. And by the way, man, everything you do is always incredible. You're the best cook. And I love it because you venture out. I would just go to the safe stuff, like, star that one. Let's do that every week. Have your same 5, things or whatever. But you will venture out, make this new recipe, and it always crushes it the first time. So, and it was very good, but you had worked hard on it. And you said something about being cold. And so if I look at the overall, what happened, we got in this fight and it didn't end well right then. So I looked at it as you were being impatient and selfish and I'm like, that's literally what I thought. And so the way I was feeling was unappreciated and disrespected. And so those were going in my mind. And so then I start reacting to that and I start, basically letting that's the way I'm feeling. And so if you look, what were you believing and what were you feeling?
So I kind of described it, but a couple of different things. One track, I felt like this tension, which was already kind of it was kind of the undercurrent anyway of this is a really hard season that we're starting a lot of new things and, just I guess questioning what are you working on? What are you working on? And feeling like, okay, is he upset because I went and started dinner in the first place because there was other stuff that we needed to work on.
Yeah.
And so there was all that kind of underlying stuff, but then also feeling like I've gone in here and made dinner and worked hard and not knowing what would be the best decision in that moment, eat without him or wait on him and just ask him again, are you coming pretty soon or whatever? And then just kind of feeling the same thing, kind of unappreciated and disrespected. So the same kind of thing for a
so
different
here you
reason.
are. And so when we were able to share that, I'm like, I think I even made this snide remark, like the sarcasm. I said, oh, okay, I guess the accounting fairies are going to go in there while I come and eat, but it was, you really did want it to be hot for me. Not like, well, I wanted to go ahead and eat because I wanted to be hot for you. You know, when I was saying impatient and selfish, you were thinking about me and you talked about your codependent. You were worried about, well, what's worse, you know, paying the hell of starting early and he's upset. And so we were missing it because we didn't communicate, but we made up a story about that whole deal. And what we are finding is the value in going away and saying, okay, what am I believing about this? What am I feeling? Now let me come back and let me share that. And when I hear what you were believing and you hear what I was believing, of course they felt that way. No wonder. But when I believed that and I started feeling that, in that moment, instead of this, man, I'm working for you and I want you to be proud of me and I want you to appreciate what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm like, man, screw you. You come back in there and you're like all the ways, John Gottman in his book, the 7 Habits, that's not it. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. 7 Habits for Highly Effective Marriage. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, he talks about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and that if any one of these things is showing up in your marriage, you are heading for divorce. Like you have a high probability of divorcing. And he names them: contempt, criticism, stonewalling, and defensiveness. And literally, the atmosphere that I created because of my belief and the way I was feeling in that moment, I created all 4 of those. And so now, if you look at, you know, just to take one, for example, the Jimmy Evans, the 4 laws of marriage, right? The law of priority and pursuit and partnership and purity. Like, you get any of those out of whack, and I mean, at least 2 were out of whack. You're out of alignment. And here we are with our car analogy. So, man, that thing's pulling to the right. It's heading for the ditch. And if one's out of alignment, you know, or one's, you know, off, you're rubbing the other 3 tires down, right? It's not good. And how quickly things turned when we went and shared instead of just. Man, if you do not take that to a conscious, man, I'm going to unplug and I'm going to go seek God and I'm going to be honest about how I was feeling in that moment and then come share it. Many times you'll hear from the Lord, you know, already. But if you didn't, just sharing with your spouse, it's like, and if you come in with a heart to understand, seek first to understand and then to be understood, literally it will be the difference between a huge fight that escalates and then you're not talking for the rest of the night. You didn't get to finish your show that you've been watching because she went in, slammed the door, called you a name that started with a B. You may have called her name that started with a B. You know, we're so immature when we allow that to happen. So if you want to take your marriage to the next level, just practice that.
And by the time it gets to that point, then you just are, your pride is at a certain level where you're just fighting for fighting's sake. Like, what are we even, you couldn't even remember the stupid thing you were fighting about, you know? And so it really is that simple that if you can just, you know, get to a point with your spouse that you can be vulnerable and you can be, you know, kind of fall on your sword and be the more mature one, be the one to go first and say, you know, I'm really sorry about this. Can we talk about, you know, and take that unplugged time and come back together and say, this is what I was believing, you know, and this is how it made me feel. And so this is the environment that I created, you know, and this is what I heard God say about it. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge, long drawn out thing. It could be literally a 10-minute conversation that completely shifts the whole rest of the night, the rest of your life, you know, but it's just tools like that are really, it seems like, really, it's that easy.
Right. And you know, some of the things that it's just layers of just the aha and the revelations and God speaking to you. When you have that heart and you can hear what your story was, what you were believing, then just the compassion that comes out rather than the judgment. And the mercy and the grace that you give. And then in that, when your heart is open to that, that's when God can really speak to me and says, dude, you thought she was being impatient and selfish. you were being selfish because you thought, I have to get this thing done right here. And if you value your wife like you say you do, and you value her cooking, you can say thank you, and that was great, which I do. But how about you show her, man, I can't wait. Dinner's ready. I'm there, right? Pause on whatever you're doing and just come back to it. And how about you take one for the team? Okay, so you had to replod some ground, and that's going to cost you an extra however many minutes. Those are the areas where you're going to grow. When you can just say, you know what? I'm going to treasure my spouse. I'm going to say, man, thank you for the value that they are to me. And I'm going to go show them that and do it proactively rather than having to be, come back later. So that was that. And so we hope that this helps everyone. Man, I really have appreciated your willingness, because before, when I felt like I got to a place and I would unplug and I'd want to come back and literally I want to avoid a fight and I want to apologize and nope, I'm not ready, buddy.
I still have my gloves on.
Yeah, your gloves are on. You still want to punish me. No, what you did was, and I'm like, no, I know. It's but here, boom, boom.
But do you know this? But do you know how that hurt me? Do you know when you did this?
And what I'm seeing is you're allowing that. You're allowing the diffusion. You're allowing the de-escalation. And I appreciate that. And matter of fact, you're just so good at, you talked about being codependent and swallowing things and wondering what's he doing, what's he thinking. But the way you're saying, hey, that was kind of weird, without letting the grass grow, without an hour, 2 hours of just wondering what's going on. And then, us ruining a night, or, I hear couples ruining 2 and 3 days, Yeah. It's don't do that. Go and try to make the repair attempt. And we can talk a whole maybe episode about that soon, about repair attempts and how you can make them land or help them succeed in landing. But I really appreciate what I've seen in you to say, I don't want this to be a deal. So, hey, can we clear the air? And very quickly. And so it's oh my gosh, no. You misunderstood. That's not what I was thinking at all. And that can just clear the air. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I do too.
Love it.
All right, baby. 30 minutes.
Okay. Any reminders?
Parting thoughts? Go Grammys. Everybody's going to date
Grammys,
this. Yeah, go Grammys.
And then be watching out for the overhaul. The new overhaul,
which is the intensive,
coming soon. So if that, struck a chord in you and you're like, man, we need it. If you look on the website and it's not there, just reach out to us, because we just haven't updated it yet, but we will shortly. And then also the virtual workshop. Yeah. I'm so excited, babe. I'm very excited.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.